not that comes to mind. But,
cool. Just a good old-fashioned good week.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else got any highlights to share?
I got something to share. I felt like it's worth mentioning. So
Great.
I finished like my contract with my job last week because I'm doing like a freelance jobs. And this week I end up like with no jobs, no plans, nothing to do. And one thing I realized, as much as I complained during the work, I'm now complaining when I'm not working. I'm still experiencing the same anxiety, I'm still experiencing the same thoughts, I'm still experiencing the same things of like, there's nothing to do. Even if I'm not working, there's nothing to do. Even if I'm working, there's nothing to do. So I just noticed that kind of shift. It doesn't go away. Even if you switch a job, even if you go live in the happiest life, it still follows you. It's still after you.
Because
you're not here.
Well, yeah, okay, that's one way you could take it. I was thinking because it's not about circumstances.
Yeah.
But you have experienced it going away. I know you have, but it's not about the circumstances, right? Yeah. And so I'll bet in any moment that you remember to practice, Carl.
Those moments I really do remember to practice, because I'm sitting here but with no job, and I can see them more clearly. Like, oh, you can see the uncertainty of reality like really kick in. I don't have a job. I don't have this. Oh, where am I gonna get the money? Who's gonna feed me? And you see all these thoughts pile up. I'm like, why does it matter right now? Like, I'm sitting here on the sofa, I can't even chill out like for a second without having these thoughts. So you almost start panicking and like looking for every possible opportunity, every possible job. What's out there? But then you realize even that brings back the same anxiety as was before, because you're not dealing with the source of issue. The source of issue is that you're sitting there thinking how bad things are when there is nothing going on. Just thought. Just a self-created problem. And yeah, that's what I've been practicing this week with, and it's been pretty interesting.
Amazing. I love those moments where you get to see it both ways in such sharp relief. I remember a conversation I had with a Dhamma friend that none of you have ever met, I don't think. His name's Chris Kerr. He's not around at the moment. Maybe he'll drop in sometime. He, at the time, was in a long-term relationship. I, at the time, was single. And we were on the phone to one another. I complaining about being single. He complaining about being in a relationship. And we said, it's not about being single or being in a relationship, is it? No, Chris, it's not. No, Danny, it's not. It's about dukkha. It's about being dissatisfied. And when we see it that clearly, we get to cut through. Like you said, Carl, it's a real strong reminder to practice, right? You see that, what's the word? Forgive me, guys, there's fatigue. That, can't get it. But that you're dissatisfied in both scenarios. Tells you that it's not the scenarios. Freedom from scenarios.
I'm seeing it as well. It's like, even if I'm sitting here with no job, and then the thoughts come out, they drive you into previous scenarios. So you're gonna go back to doing same old things, same old habits. So these thoughts are like keeping you in the same loop, because you're not allowing any space for uncertainty, and that is the nature of our reality, is uncertainty. And the longer you have, the harder you resist it, the more it comes after you. So once I really settle into and just remove the dukkha and remove all these things, they all fall into place by themselves. As we had a conversation, I think last Wednesday, about I mentioned washing dishes, how we don't want to wash dishes. But once you remove the thought of, I have to wash dishes, and you just pick up a dish, they wash themselves automatically. So same thing with uncertainty. Things, they start to fall into place once you can relax into it.
Right. It's not that when things fall into place we'll be content. Rather, it's that when we're content, we stop wishing that things would fall elsewhere.
So can I ask the group a question then? And what's the role of play in all of this? You know, playfulness, making it fun, making it a game. Am I on mute still? Can you hear me?
No, we can hear you. We're waving to Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you.
I think it's all play. I think that's the attitude that we're playing with meditation, and the meditation isn't work. Meditation is a game that we're playing. You know, it's like I like the video game analogy of where we're like shooting down the unwholesome thoughts with like our laser guns, like Space Invaders or something. So I think it's like it's an attitude change. Yeah.
Yeah. Is play foreground for you right now, Tim?
Oh, I'm trying to connect play to acceptance. I feel like, what's the word that you'll see used in Buddhist circles and subreddits? Surrender, I think. I'm not sure about that term. That sounds serious, like a Ukrainian Russian sort of thing. Like we're waiting on one side, like resolution of this, and that's so serious. And I think that's where a lot of us get caught. You know, it's this serious approach to life of it's really going to give me what it promises, and it's not going to do that, right? But I guess, you know, if you can accept that it's not going to give you that stuff, then you can start playing with it. And for me, it's more like, well, what can I play with right now, right? What's like, and I don't know who said that earlier. I like that about dishes. If I just drop the thought that I have to do the dishes, then I can play with, you know, have a little fun doing the dishes. I guess I'm trying to map out like how far can I take this play thing to, and it's been fun.
I can see you with your tie around your head, running around with your arms in the air. I surrender.
Yeah, I mean, some of that Buddhism stuff too, you come across, it's so serious. It's like you're going to take enlightenment by storm. You know, the key phrase there, and I know Dhammarato, he's always saying, I don't like that term, or, you know, it's people saying, we don't like that term's not a really good term, but you know, it's the coolest place in the furnace. But lighten is right there. How do you lighten this thing up? And that's what I'm playing with. How do I lighten this thing up? Because it turns into a 50-pound weight, and then it's a 100-pound weight, you know?
Yeah. Hey, Rick. Hey, welcome.
Hey,
good to see you again.
thanks.
Hey. Tim, I think this is one of the reasons we're so lucky to have Dhammarato to bring that Eastern wisdom to us Westerners and add in what we're missing. I think that the difference in the way that the East presents happiness and how it works, I think I heard Dhammarato say one time that most Easterners are just they're closer to that condition of sotapan than we Westerners, just because the way that they understand happiness is different. It's less about scenarios, right? To kind of circle back onto that. And so where, yes, some of those scriptures can seem serious in tone, maybe our cultural baggage, the way that we interpret those words has a lot to do with that, where perhaps someone in the East might already be in possession of a degree of joy anyway, abiding as they read those scriptures. Us Westerners interpret it as also serious because that's where we're coming from.
And I don't know if any of you guys been to Thailand, but the people are more playful there. Like you can sense the playfulness out of people. They even have like these festivals where they go and spray each other with water, like completely soak each other out. And you wouldn't find that here. Like if you spray some businessman in a suit, he's not gonna be like, haha, you got me. He's gonna be like,
Tim would.
call my lawyer.
Tim will be fine. Tim will jump in.
Maybe.
So of course, Dhammarato adds in that joyful flavor for us, and perhaps even amplifies that beyond what we might find in the suttas, to allow for our Western dryness and kind of soak us a little, spraying us with his big Dharma water pistol.
Damn, what's Sokus?
What's what, sorry?
Sokus.
Sokus.
Soak us. Soak us.
Oh, soak us, right. Sorry,
It's
I
an
thought this
ancient,
was like
it's
a
an
super-
ancient word from the
Super
scriptures.
Sokus.
Oh, my
It's
bad.
from the
Mega
scriptures.
Sokus.
It's a poly, right?
From the original.
Yeah. It's,
From the original
It's
Sokum.
it's a rare Pali word. Yes, I'm something of a scholar. Yeah, so I certainly profited from Dhammarato's inclusion of all the joy stuff, the playfulness. That was certainly huge for me, and I know it's been the same for others of us who have had the good fortune to come into contact with Dhammarato.
Definitely for me. I feel like it's really, really essential.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really important.
Yeah. Big time. How you been, Rick?
I've been very well. Yeah.
Such great answers today.
Yeah, it's so funny how so many people I come in contact with talk about the days of the week that they prefer. They say, "Oh, I hate Monday. I love Friday." And I think about, I'm like, man, every day is great. Every day. It doesn't matter. I'm good on Monday, I'm good on Friday. Saturday's okay too, Wednesday. All right. Yeah. I don't differentiate between looking forward to a particular day of the week or dreading another one. They're all like equally excellent in their potential.
Yes.
Truly. Yeah. So for me, yeah, it's noted based on what my digital devices tell me it is and what I know I've been scheduled to do in a particular day. But beyond the actual feel of a day, I don't really have that anymore. It's like not attached to any particular day of the week.
Right, and isn't that a more real way of moving through a week? Because the day is just a label, right? It's just a name.
Let's say being carried along through the week. Rather than slogging through it, like, I have to make it to the end of the week, and then it's just like, okay, let's start it over again. It's more like being carried along through it, like it's just a stream of this separation. And I mean, it's all arbitrary anyway, what we happen to call this particular day anyway. So they're all just days. They're all just days. This is rotation. That's all it is. So.
Yeah, I've long enjoyed a Monday off of worldly work, which is quite typical among musicians in my community. So we would quite often get together on a Monday and call it Monday Fun Day. While, of course, the typical cultural position is to hate Mondays. So I was quite blessed with an early insight into how there's no there's no reason to hate a Monday.
Other than the activity that we feel that we're losing on the weekend, and now we're obligated to do on the following day. It's really about the activities within that day we've associated with a particular day. But if the activity is like, all right, it's an opportunity, it's a chance to have fun, doesn't matter at all. So,
right.
So, doing fine.
Delightful. How about you, Scott? How are you, brother?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, like I don't even go to work, so like I don't have it. Like every day is the weekend to me. I work on the weekends, at least in the off season. So like I ref water polo, so like I just ref a ton of games on the weekends, and like during the week I just wake up and I just like I go to the park and I just walk around and then I just sit somewhere, and then I just soak it up, or I might just play video games all day. So like today it was like nice. I walked around the house for like an hour, just to get like moving, get the energy going, and I highly recommend like at least once a day walking at a fast pace for at least an hour. Like that's important for like just from like a normal like just for your health. Like if you don't exercise, you should at least walk. Like walk for an hour. And also it gets you if you feel like lethargic, it really like gets you up. Like it's like taking caffeine. So
I found a kind of a buzz after a long brisk walk, right? Because it's light exercise, so you don't necessarily feel tired afterward, but everything's firing, right? There's circulation, there's the heart rate is slightly up. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and just like it gets you in your body a little bit more. Like that's the first that's how you come into your senses a little bit easier. Like you can do it by taking deep breaths as well. And that kind of grounds you, and it can bring like a sense of joy. And then if you ride that joy, you can go into first jhana, and then all you have to do is like not think unwholesome thoughts, or at least like be on guard for them. And just like when one comes up, just be like, oh, that's an unwholesome thought, and then you get on a roll. And then once you get on a roll, then PP and Sukha can come. I mean, like I don't know if like you can do this like if you have like stuff to do, but like I have like all day to do this, so that's all I do.
Oh yeah, and indeed, as we have more time to do it distraction free, then you're probably finding, right, you can bring it into more complex activities as well, right?
Yeah, so like if you can do things like with a smile on your face, like it takes the bite out of it. Like I think Dhammarato like said the difference between like taking the trash out and like bitching and moaning the whole time about it, like on the way there, it's gonna suck. But if you like, oh, my mom's gonna be really happy I take out the trash right now, and you get the trash and you just do it step by step and you enjoy it, you know?
Yeah.
Or sometimes what I'll do is I'll think about what's the most perfect way I can do this seemingly mundane activity. And it really sharpens my mind about it. Like, oh, what's the most perfect way I can cut these peppers? Not the fastest way.
Of it?
Yeah, the zen of it. I really get into it. What's the most perfect way I can shovel this one shovel full of snow?
Yeah.
With perfect.
I love hearing you talk about shoveling the snow, Rick. It's great because that's a real strong example of a task that would typically be resisted, right? Up at, what is it, 5 a.m.?
Yeah, 5 a.m. sometimes because that's
Yeah, in the dark, in minus what?
Minus 12, minus 15. Yeah.
Right, so out of your warm bed, up at 5, out into the cold, shoveling snow. That's just such a great little kind of hard mode practice, if you want to call it that. But of course, as soon as you get the attitude right, it's no longer hard mode.
And it's really practical too. Like you're doing something that's necessary. You're in a meditative state and you're actually getting some exercise. So it's actually like checking a bunch of boxes. So that's all sweet, you know?
Yeah.
That's actually a sweet situation.
Yeah. Love it. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good to see you again. Good.
Just on a lunch break at work, so figured I'd listen in.
Great. What's work for you?
I work at a restaurant right now.
Great.
So making food.
Great. Keeping people fed.
Yeah.
That's some good old-fashioned good karma right there.
Hmm.
I like your beard, man. It's pretty sweet. Pretty dope beard.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
That was the
Yeah.
goal, I guess. If you're gonna have a beard, have a pretty dope one, right?
Yeah, it's like a majestic one. Like there's like power to the beard, you know? Like you probably have some guru like mystical powers along with that. Like beard. Like
Is that
You'd
like the
hope
Air
so.
Jordans? It's the shoes? No, it's the beard.
Or just
I
like
try to fly around on carpets occasionally, just you know, it's a good thing to do for fun.
Yeah.
I think I heard Osho say it one time, like he was like a man without a beard and mustache is like a woman with a beard and mustache. And like, I mean, that's a pretty controversial take, but like it was kind of funny.
Wow.
I don't agree with that viewpoint, but it's just like it's a bold viewpoint, you know?
I will say it's been an exercise in letting go to let it grow this long.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I just don't. I hardly touch it at all. I just have to trim the mustache and like this occasionally, just because I don't like to eat my hair while I eat food that often. But
Makes sense.
You don't give it that flavor, that special flavor.
But I used to be like a really big perfectionist. Like I always like keep my beard like really trimmed short and stuff in the same way. So it was like when I let it go, I was like really letting that old part of myself kind of drop away too. Like always having to control everything and everything be just the exact way you want it to be.
Delightful.
But you've learned to just let it grow.
Let it go, let it grow, man.
Dhamma and the art of masculine grooming. There's a book in there.
There's a
Yeah.
series of podcasts in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when everything becomes practice.
Is my background like noise too high? Because I'm in a restaurant and there's a bit of music playing. I just want to make sure it's not like distracting.
It's great when you're talking. We can hear you. I would say let's mute your mic when you're not talking.
When I'm not
right?
talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I figured.
Thanks, Brandon.
That's why I was muted when I first jumped in.
Cool. Thanks. So who else has something to throw on the Dharma fire? Oh, I was going to mention something actually, Rick, when you were talking about the peppers. A recommendation for a wonderful documentary episode on Netflix is episode 1 of season 3 of a show called Chef's Table. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? This is an episode that normally follows restaurant chefs, but this one is different. They follow a Korean Buddhist nun who cooks this incredible food at her monastery, which is beautiful. I mean, the locations that they shoot are just unbelievable. And she comes to, I think it's New York, where they hang out, and I think it's either the producer or the director who's talking to the camera at the beginning, and he's talking about how the food that she serves, they would happily have served in any of the 5-star restaurants in the city, and no one would have batted an eyelid. And he said when he tried this food, he said, well, we have to go to Korea. We have to find out about this woman and shoot an episode on her. And they did. And it's just brilliant. I think you'll all enjoy it greatly.
Cool.
Thank you for the recommendation. I'll check that out.
What was the show called again?
Chef's Table.
And you said it was episode 1, season 3? Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah. I was hoping for similar stories in the other episodes, but I couldn't find any. It was all just kind of typical restaurant stuff. I didn't find any of the other episodes quite so inspiring.
They need to do like a spin-off. Nun's table. Nun's table.
Nun's table.
Not yet.
Great. Come on then. Who else has got something for us?
What's
cooking in Dhamma? Come on, Alex. Let's hear it.
So I've been noticing some really interesting, cool shifts in my practice lately. One of which is I thought that my practice was all of life until I started practicing way more, and then I see how much my life was not practice. So like the gaps, the micro nano gaps are being filled with practice now. Like the times when you go to the bathroom and you realize your mind is wandering. Oh, there it is. Or you're getting the butter out of the fridge to put in the pan. Oh, whoop, there it is. You know, little things like that. It's like, whoa, everything is getting immersed in mindfulness. And what is so amazing about it is that my aversion and not liking of the content and the phenomena has gone way down. Like the buzz has been killed in that aversion. It's like, I mean, sometimes it's there, but it's just like, oh, there it is. You know, it's like, okay, let's start again. And the never mind, start again has never been so clear. Like, I think when I started with Dhammarato and then when I started doing TWIM, I got really like fascinated with like being in the jhanas and like staying in the jhanas and sustaining the jhanas. But I noticed like as long as I'm fascinated in like sustaining those kinds of states, when I'm not in them, right, when I'm going to the toilet or when those moments are happening where the mind is wandering, it's going to be so disappointing. It's going to be such a problem. So I've started to see the ways in which my mind will do this and hang on to things, right? So I've started to like just let go of even being in jhana. Like just let go of even like getting anything right. Like every moment is a new moment, and that's the moment to start again and again and again and again and again and again. And the more and more I've done that, I've seen that it's all a habit. It's all habitual patterns, repetition. It has nothing to do with, I wouldn't even say it has anything to do with effort even. It has a mind of its own that those habits have been going on themselves for a while. So now it's just surrendering. It's just letting go in each moment to those habits and practicing correctly. And that's all I can really do. So now it's like, am I in jhana? Am I not in jhana? Well, if I'm in jhana, great. If I'm not in jhana, great. You know, like, and then, you know, then the jhanas will come. But it's like, it's really cool. I don't care as much about any of it. And I think that's the way to go, because caring about it has been such a drawback for me. Like I'll get really great results with all of my like persistence and effort, but then I'll want that again. So it's like, let's just let it all go.
And does the letting go of wanting to be in jhana do anything to the likelihood of being in jhana?
I'd say yes, usually. Yeah, it's
in what?
Go ahead.
In what way?
Well, sometimes like today, right? The mind has been, it'll wander, and then I'll accept that, let go, relax into it, start again, smile, have the wishing of loving kindness, of love for myself or for my spiritual friend. And then it'll do it again, and it'll go back, and it'll do it again, and I'll go back. And sometimes, honestly, I'm not actually sure if I'm in jhana right now or out of jhana, because jhana has become, I would say, so like naturally there, naturally present. So I actually don't even know. I it's at a point where there's less distinction between the states. Now, when it goes really high into jhana, which happens when I do distraction-free sitting practice, which can happen really quickly, there's like a subdued everything. It's like everything is like so calm and relaxing. But the distinction from what I'm at now to that is very, very small. It's noticeable, but it's very small. So does that help?
I wish I had my little party.
Yeah,
That was a
man.
great
It's
description, Alex.
it's
I love that.
crazy.
Thank
Like,
you. That was really interesting.
yeah, the jhanas are less. Is that kind of how it can go, Dan? That the jhanas become less of a difference, of a distinction.
You tell me.
That's how it's felt. Of
Yeah.
course, I can't know for sure because it's my experience. Does that line up with your experience or anybody else's here?
That lines up with my experience, but your experience is far more important than mine in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a similar thing happen. Not to interrupt you, Scott. I just say to Alex, I had a similar thing happen a couple of weeks ago, where the space between like satisfied and dissatisfied seemed to get more subtle, I think.
Yeah, yeah. What were you gonna say,
And that's
Scott?
the real jackpot, right? Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, sure. Something you're talking about just like made me think of Jhāna is like a beautiful woman who's just like completely like just like naturally joyful and attractive. Like if you're clinging at all, like they're not gonna want to be around you. Like you have to be like like you have to be like totally like just chill, like just chilled out. You not don't call her all the time. Stop texting. Okay.
Jhāna is just not that into you.
Yeah.
Jhāna.
It's pronounced Jane.
I think another Jane. I think another way you can say it is like satisfaction breeds more satisfaction, and dissatisfaction is the seeking of higher satisfaction or satisfaction in the first place. When you're in that place, that dissatisfied state is more likely to create more dissatisfaction in the future, if you let it continue. So it's kind of like a balance between being satisfied with the way things are, but then also doing some practice when it feels right to like keep it up. I just had a talk with Dhammarato a couple nights ago where I was asking him, I was like, yeah, my life seems to be pretty smooth sailing these days. Like I haven't been doing as much practice. Like what do you say to that? Like what should I do? And he told me it was something like I should try to focus on having like maybe 20 or 30 little nibbāna moments a day. And he gave me these really cool instructions of like when I open doors, like take a pause, think what's so important that I need to even go through this door, or getting out of a car door. And he gave a bunch of other like little moments in the day to like introduce practice, like when you do these activities, as like a guaranteed way to kind of keep the ball rolling enough to where you're not like losing any, progress and stuff. I don't know, it was pretty cool.
Super cool. Like that helped me a lot. That Dhammarato like made it more relatable, because there's like moments that you have little mini nibbānas like all the time, or otherwise you go crazy, right? Like when you one time you said like when you sit down at a restaurant, like right when you sit down in your table, and you just like relax, like, oh, I'm at a restaurant now. That little moment, like you're like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
that little.
He told me that with sitting down. Like when you sit down, like pause like right before you sit, and then just like take a deep breath, and then sit down and really enjoy that taking a load off, like feeling that comes when you get to sit down after you've
Or
been
I
up
have
for a
another
while.
one, like think about like when you first walk into a grocery store and you're like, oh, now I'm in a grocery store. It's just like there's that moment. You have that like still split second of just like, look at all this stuff, like I'm in a grocery store, like it's just like that's it right there.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Scott.
Because like one time I was tripping on LSD and I walked into a grocery store and I noticed it like way more. I'm like, whoa. Like it's like the change
The
of environment.
bananas.
I
Wow.
don't ever had this, but it's like you go to the grocery, there's all these aisles, and then there's like people too, and everything, you look so tall. Everything, like you look so tall, like you're looking down at everything, like almost like it's a bird's eye view kind of experience.
You mean you had that experience?
That's frequently how it feels when I go into grocery stores. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Or
It's really easy to find stuff that way, right? If you're looking down.
or think about
Except
Target.
if it's on the bottom
Like,
of
Target
this.
even more so. Like, because Target, they have Legos and they have like video games and stuff at Target, and like funny t-shirts and stuff. And like, dude, girls love Target. Like, I've never met a girl that didn't like Target.
Huh.
Like, like they're always at Target, man. Like Target's where it's at.
Do you remember reaching the age when you were allowed to hang out in the toys section by yourself while mum or dad went off and did the groceries?
I was never that old.
Yeah,
I was
that's
never
weird.
that old.
That was the
unlocked
best.
memory. Yeah.
You never let me do that.
Yeah. I'll just hang out here in the video game section, mum. You go do the boring shit.
The other thing
Yeah.
I've noticed is that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to comment on what you mentioned, Scott, about when you enter the grocery store, that moment, and how, of course, that kind of thing seems to be heightened on LSD, right? But then we discover, of course, don't we, that actually it's a subtractive thing, that we're just not doing all of that networking that says, oh, this is normal.
Yeah.
Right? So
definitely,
practice as
I
well
noticed it a lot
as we.
more, yeah.
Right, as with practice, we like just open everything up, and that conditioning falls away. Then we can walk into the grocery store, and this is fucking wild. How did all this get together in one place? Like, there's the bananas, right? But there's also fucking dates and almonds and sugar snap peas and hummus and all this shit from all over like, it's a mad experience.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It really
actually
is.
mad.
And the seasonal products. Don't forget the seasonal
The
products.
seasonal products. Somehow
The flavors
all
of
year round
spring.
anyway.
The flavors of summer.
Yeah, but we call them seasonal products. The strawberries obviously go mad here in the UK in summer, but there's strawberries there all year round. You can get strawberries, they're just not as good. So even seasonal products, that whole seasonal thing has somehow lost its meaning. We've managed to engineer shit to the degree that we can just have exactly what we want whenever we want. And that is a crazy experience. And it's in this super controlled, super comfortable environment the strawberries go mad.
Fantastic band
Okay.
name. Fantastic
It's
name for a band.
Yeah, the strawberries go mad. Or the band is called the Strawberries, of course, and the album is The Strawberries Go Mad.
Yeah.
Or is their first full-length feature film. Anyway, being in a supermarket is trippy as fuck all by itself, right? And when we stop doing all of that stuff in here that normalizes it,
Okay, yeah, there's that too, but then there's also that like that little release, that little like maybe like you were thinking about something, like you're like in some sort of like unwholesome train of thought, and that moment you walk in the grocery store, you're like, okay, now I'm in a grocery store. This is what I'm doing. So there's that little moment of relief. Yeah.
Right.
So like I'm trying to explain like that little like feeling of like expansion where like you're contracted, like tripping out about something, where it's like something so completely ordinary can bring about just like hit of peace. And that little hit of peace is like how you go all the way to nibbāna. Like that's literally like the release of like dukkha. That's satisfaction. So like the more familiar you become with it, like the more you can go back to it, because like you know what it's like.
Wakey wakey. That's how it sounds. Wakey wakey.
Wakey wakey, yeah. The ordinariness factor is a big deal there, right? That nibbāna can be found in something so ordinary as that little change.
Yeah, and then also another way to think about it is like nibbāna is the most ordinary thing that can happen to you. So, sorry, can someone mute the mic? It's making a lot of noise.
It's me. Debbie's boiling the kettle.
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay. So yeah, it's so ordinary. Everything else, like your whole life, has been the weird thing. Like suffering is the weird thing, and like it's been you've been on a like crazy trip of like going through like hell as a person and like being dissatisfied. And then when nibbāna comes, you're like, oh, this is the natural state. This is ordinary. So there's nothing mystical or special about like satisfaction. It's not some like, oh, the clouds are gonna part and God's gonna come down from the sky and like say congratulations, you did it. Like here's your mystical powers.
You're
like,
the millionth. You're the millionth customer.
The millionth enlightened person. It's so ordinary that like people like almost will be disappointed by it and like say, oh, this can be it, and then like keep looking. So it's like it's right there.
It's like the magicalness. Like I get that a lot. Like I'll make myself dissatisfied because my jhana isn't like magical enough. It's not trippy enough. Like there's still a sense of self. You know, like all this, the no self is like the main thing because that's like a big like spiritual like marketing thing where it's like, you know, it's about no self. It sounds so cool on paper and stuff, and it's like, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then I'll be like in jhana, and then I'll be like, oh, but where's my no self facet? You know, like where's my this facet of awakening, right? So it's like I kind of spoil it for myself doing that.
Gotcha.
Look how
and
that's look how cool it is on paper.
That you think that when you leave jhana, when you look to things that are more satisfying, you know.
Or hey, are you guys familiar with that one episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob becomes really normal, and he's just like, well, like, anyways, the episode is like SpongeBob becomes so normal that like it drives Squidward crazy that how normal he is. And like he's just like, hi, wonderful weather we're having. And it's just like it's kind of disappointing. Like if you meet when you meet a real teacher, like they have like good jokes and like little tools in their bag and tricks and stuff. But then like when they go back, like when they're not talking to you, like they're just a normal person. Like
they're just in the grocery store, man.
Like
in the grocery store.
It's like,
Dan, I like that you couldn't see it because you're not supposed to see it. It's no self.
Oh, I see a little bit. Yeah.
see what I did there?
Yeah, very close.
See what you did there.
Yeah, I spoke to someone and he said that like and I feel like this is such a trend with spiritual teachers is it's always like people ask this and this experience and the teacher says it's just an experience, you know, it's just like it's fluff, it's not the essence, you know. The essence is stop thinking about it, stop meditating. If you're thinking about your previous experience, you're not meditating, you know. And that's not just Dhammarato, that's like every teacher that says that. And I talked to one guy, and I asked him like specifically outright. I was like, you know, everyone says that these like mystical experiences aren't important, but they feel important. They feel super profound when I'm in them. I feel like I've been touched by God. Like, you're telling me this isn't important? And he said, like, it's not that it's not important, but it's like this spiritual equivalent of like playing with your dick. It's just for fun, you know. It's like, it's not the meat, it's not the meat and veg of the thing. It's like the gravy.
Is it
That's like my biggest
Is it like
attachment, is like, yeah, they're like
Jhāna-
jhanas and stuff like that. It's like,
Jhānabation?
so-
Is it called Jhānabation?
Jhānabation.
yeah.
I was gonna say that when whenever I notice, like what you said, Robert, how there's a tendency to look at the jhana I'm in or the experience I'm having and be like, wait, I want more of this, or like there should be more, there should be something else. That right there, all that is pointing to why it's not the way I want it to be, because I want it to be some other way. It's the craving. The craving is the entire problem. If there was ever any problem, it's the craving. That's all it is. That's what I'm starting to see. The cessation of craving is really all we're looking for in every moment.
It's so
and that's huge when you can see that you're sparring with craving every moment. You're like, oh, I see you. Oh, I got you. I see it. And all your experience, most of my experience, I've seen how much of it is shaped by craving. It's crazy.
Yep.
Now, if only there was a truth that was related to that.
Maybe what if there's good craving and bad craving?
No.
Alex ain't up for that today. What do you mean, Ryan?
So good craving is wanting to meet your friends, wanting to be trying to learn from your mistakes, paying your bills, paying your taxes, so you don't get fucked down the line.
Well,
Have
the
sex with someone,
Dhammarato
putting a
relate
condom
that
on. So you don't get this thing. These are simple things, yeah.
aversion to babies.
Yeah,
I
no,
have a
simple
strong
things.
aversion to newborn children.
Yeah.
Dhammarato said one time that the Buddha himself said that there is such a thing as wholesome desire, such as desire to practice, desire to have wise friends and wise teachers. And we're talking about that fourth kind of karma, of course, the karma that ends karma. Right? We want to go towards that. And it is a kind of wanting that leads to the end of wanting. Right?
That's sketchy, man. That sounds real sketchy to me. It sounds like you're tiptoeing on like a fine line with like spikes.
Well, it is, isn't it? And it's been called a narrow path.
Narrow path, exactly.
It's a skill to be developed because it's wisdom. Once you know where you're being attached to, I'm attached to meeting my friends, I need to meet my friends, that's attachment. Then having a skillful thought, I would like to meet my friends, but I don't need them. You're navigating in the correct thought process. Like that's a wholesome thought.
I think that's what Dan says. Dan says the difference between wanting and liking.
Yeah, which is all Dhammarato. I can't take credit for that one. And he'll pass it on to the Buddha, and up the line it goes, up the chain of command.
I have a question. So we just talked about like a way to end karma or somehow change it or reduce it. What does that look like in practice when it actually happens?
So when we practice, that's an action that leads to no more action. We practice and we're no longer reaching out and grabbing things or pushing things away. We're not doing things that are going to lead to something else. So we're freeing ourselves from the bonds of cause and effect, so to speak. Right? When we're practicing, we're not entering into messy relationships. We're not stealing things. We're not murdering people. We're back to morality. in simple terms, that would be the kind of ordinary way that this is taught, would be morality. And when we're sat in meditation, as Dhammarato says, that's the only time actually that we have perfect morality, when we're sat on our asses with our mouths shut. So that's what the Buddha means by the karma that ends karma. Acts that don't lead to more acts. Stuff that doesn't lead to more stuff.
It's just stopping. Just stop. I mean that when I hear that, it just means stopping. Just stop.
Stop it. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
It's all describable in one word. Stop. Like, if you can see it, you can see it. Another thing is I wanted to say is like, there can be put a lot of intention on stopping the karma, but there was never any control in moving towards this meditation process. I don't know, for me, you can claim that you were suffering and then eventually you decided to take control of this wheel and end the suffering, but who are you to say that you navigated the car into the yard for you to be able to take the wheel? I don't know if that makes sense. Who you are to say that you created this car and now you're taking the wheel? Maybe the car was always there put for you to see, but we never, I don't know how to explain this, but it doesn't seem like it's something you took control of. So whenever we talk about karma and ending all of the karma, I don't think there's any control in that. It just happens authentically and naturally by itself once you stop individually, like on the individual level. Once we stop, there's something stops overall, like the whole world stops.
And that's a lovely, simple way to say it, right? And yeah, when we get into conversations about karma, it all gets a little flowery, right? So I like that simple explanation. I suspect that teaching on karma might have been given to folks who were already subscribing to a model of karma. I know when Dhammarato brings up those 4 kinds of karma, it's often in response to ideas around 2 kinds of karma. Right, and so the idea of good and bad karma predated the Buddha by a long way, but he came along and said, actually, there's this mixed karma, and there's then the karma that ends karma as well, right? Which is altogether more of an explanation than we need most of the time. So stop. Beautiful. Stop. I love that. I found that very useful as a direction for myself at times.
Once you see any kind of going, then you just know to stop. Like as we talked, like the practice gets to a point where it shrinks down from a couple of words, as Dhammarato talked about it. First of all, there's like, you can sum up practice into dukkha nirodha, and then eventually it just becomes stop, because you can see it going. You can see the wheel slowly starting to turn, and you can just push the brakes.
Yeah.
Don't even turn the wheel.
Cheers, Brandon.
See you, man.
Bye, Brandon.
Bye, Brandon.
Yeah, and yet, of course, that doesn't mean we don't pay our taxes, right? So we still we do what must be done, and we come full circle to where we started this evening with, you still do the dishes, but you're not really doing them. You're more in that passenger seat, so to speak. The dishes are to be done, and so you enjoy playing with the bubbles. You had something, Robert?
Yeah, I wanted to say I like he said stop, and he didn't say stop and go in this direction. So don't so it wasn't stop and then this. It was just stop. Like, I like the one-stepness of it. I feel like having 2 steps is like, when you're doing the first step, you're thinking about the second, you're anticipating the second. You know, it's like stop and now I gladden the mind. But you know, then you never really get to the second step, like if you're anticipating it. So I like just the one thing. You just stop, and then you're left, and you're just like, oh, what do I do now? And there's like a feeling sometimes for me, like, of some unknowing or some confusion, and it's like, I don't know what to do. But then, like, if you just rest in that, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's sort of, I don't want to say Yeah, I don't know, but it can be enjoyable, and
It's sort
like
of like no self, Robert.
yeah, it's like a sustainable enjoyment. I feel like if you're just being satisfied with like confusion or not knowing itself, that's about as sustainable as it gets. That's pretty ever present as far as I can tell.
I suspect that you're able to stop more of what's going on now than you were when you started practice, right? And so we would assume that that trajectory is going to continue until at some point you're able to stop that confusion that you're left with as well. Says even more stopping until everything stops. Everything. I mean, mental fabrication, let's say.
Oh, that's good. That's a good point. You know what's crazy? When you said that, I realized like I'm actually playing an active role in the confusion. Like before, I would always think like confusion's like my default. When I don't do anything, I'm in this like confused kind of like when you finish a Zen koan and you're just kind of dazed. You're like, what? Like that's like my kind of default state of being. And I was like, well, I just have to get used to this. But that's like what. And now I'm thinking, what if I'm playing a role in that? What if I'm creating that? And like,
well, is confusion our default state? That's a hypothesis.
I'm gonna take this one onto the cushion later tonight. That's brilliant. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
In
I'll
a,
be dealing with
in a
that.
meditative way.
Yes. Yeah.
Come onto the
Maybe there'll
cushion.
be something hopefully.
I kind of just want to point out a trap of like stop as well. Stop can be a trap, as in a sense people think that the unwholesomeness will stop coming. Once we mean stop, then you think, oh, there's no process at all. There's nothing happening. That's everything just stops. That's not what we mean by stop. Stop means as soon as you see the car slowly riding down, you stop, and the car will start riding down the hill again. So you stop again. And stop again and stop again until the car hits the flat, and maybe then you don't have to do as much as stopping, but maybe you will hit another hill downhill, and then you have to stop again. So I think it's important to make that distinction, because I've been trapped in this like stopping. Oh, I want the unwholesome thoughts to stop completely. That's what I understood previously from stopping the mind. It's just stopping it completely. But that was not the case, because it always moves in cycles anyway. So you will probably need to push the brakes sometimes more, sometimes less.
Beautiful analogy. Good. How you doing, Ryan? How you been?
I'm really, really good.
Good.
All going well, no complaints. Yeah.
I can tell by your genuine smile, brother.
Yeah,
delightful.
Things have been good. Things have been good. Yeah.
Good. Any highlights?
Any highlights? I fell into a 48,000-pound windfall today.
Woo! Hell yeah.
So that's a highlight.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And
very nice.
I started a 90-day no-fap thing a couple of days ago. So I want to see how that goes.
Cool.
I got to around 78 days before. And I want to see whether the no-fap superpowers are the real thing or a group delusion.
What did you find at 78 days?
I thought it was true. I thought I had superpowers, but then I can be full of shit now. So looking back, I thought, no, I was full of shit. I was fooling myself. I just stepped into the group delusion. So now I'm going to go in with an extra critical mind.
Well, maybe, but you're the leading authority on your direct experience.
I'm also full of shit.
I suppose then you're the leading authority on your being full of shit.
Exactly. No, I think a lot more people probably think I have a lot more accurate idea of my full of shittedness than I am. But yeah.
I remember from the last time. It's been a while.
There you go.
Yes, Robert?
Ryan, I'm really glad you brought up that point of not knowing if it's a real superpower or if it's just like a placebo, like you're just tricking yourself.
Yeah.
That's really huge for me. 2 days ago, I read a PDF like twice through that Alex sent me. It was Guide to Transcendental Wisdom Insight Meditation by I can't remember the guy's name, but it's similar.
Yeah.
Yes, him, yeah. And there was some really interesting detail in which I'd never actually done with metta, and that was to imagine that the person I was like radiating this loving kindness towards, I had to imagine that they, and not just imagine, but actually take on this belief during the meditation that it was actually improving their life, and they were actually going to feel this. So I was sending this energy from here, and this real person would really feel it, which of course, like material science would say this is complete hocus pocus. My materialist skeptic brainwashing, which I actually found out was basically a dogma after doing this, because it was so hard for me to drop this belief that this isn't how it works, this isn't how it really works. And I was like, look, I'm supposed to have control over my mind. I should be able, for an hour, for the period of this meditation, to just take on a new belief system. Why am I so afraid of doing that? And I finally was able to, and the result it produced was way better than all my other meditations, because like when I feel like I'm sending loving kindness and it's just futile and it's just a silly feel-good exercise, even if that's just a thought in the back of my mind, it totally puts like a glass ceiling on how much that loving kindness can go. And when I was able to, for just a couple of moments, to remove that and actually take on the belief that this is really working, wow, my loving kindness shot through the roof, and it was incredible. But like for me, that whole experience of like wrestling with my belief systems and stuff and trying to take on this new spiritual belief system, it was really that was like at the forefront of my mind was, is this a real like superpower, or is this just like me tricking myself? The result of believing it was a real superpower made it so much more effective that now, like in the days that have been following, because I haven't really tried meditation again. I mean, I did, but I wasn't able to actually overcome my skeptic, materialistic brainwashing and stuff. But I was like, wow, this really makes a difference. And so, like, I'm not 100% sure either, but I feel like something can be said for like just like believing in like magic, like because the results spoke for themselves, man. Like it was a crazy meditation. It felt really powerful.
So yesterday, I spoke to a demon of the Goetia before I sent this email across asking. And so that's how I feel I got the 48,000 pounds, which is around $65,000, because I spoke to the demon of the Goetia and he said it's a done deal. And I got another 12% increase in my annual salary for the future. So I do believe in magic, that it does work.
Yeah. One of the things that's scary for me as well is like it sort of opens up a whole area of like spiritual research that I've been really ignoring, because I was thinking this is BS, great, I can ignore it. Let me focus on the stuff that's like scientifically like proven, like thinking wholesome thoughts, right? Because it seems more scientific. We have like studies that show people have less like stress or like cortisol or whatever if they meditate or do mindfulness and stuff. But it's like opening up this thing to like spirit possession. Like I heard some woman on a podcast today was talking about like how she communicated with plants and stuff, and I was like, I find it so difficult to believe that stuff, but the potential of believing in that stuff to actually like transform my life in real ways, whether or not if these energies even do things for other people, or if it's any of it's real, but like the potential is like crazy of like taking on new beliefs. Like it seems
I've gone for courses that have taught me how to speak to plants, how to give plants different levels of energy. So I can go to a field, and if it's got 3 sides or 4 sides, I can give one side energy, and I feel that this side is greener than the other 2 sides. And when I give energy to these sides, feels like these 2 sides are greener than this side.
Yeah.
The like question that's in the air here, guys, is what is real? What do we mean when we say real? Do we mean verifiable?
Like a really important thing.
Sorry, Robert?
Oh, I just said like the what is real question. Like it's not just like a silly like pontification. Like it's not just a like skeptical like philosophizing like sophistry. Like it's like it has implications, you know. So it's kind of important. I just want to add that.
Right.
But I feel it's helpful to have 2 different ideas at the same time. Completely opposite ideas at the same time, and have them both be right.
It can be.
Because I can believe in a God, you can believe there's no God, and they're two completely different ideas. But who's to say that we are both wrong? So in the same way, we can say that there is no reality, that there's non-duality, there's no self. But this is Ryan speaking to Dan, Robert, Alex, DJ, Carl, and Rick. So this is us having a conversation. So we have to hold those two ideas completely in mind.
Well, I don't think that the Buddhist notion of no self would cancel out any notion of an interpersonal interaction.
But if I saw the Buddha today yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I say something about no-fap, Will? Like, I mean, it was interesting you brought it. I've been there, done that. And one thing I noticed is when you stop doing something, you become really aware about how it used to control you. So what you're doing is just you're noticing specific dukkha thoughts that are related to sex, wanting, craving, and then you're just removing them. That's all you're doing in no-fap. So why don't you do that with the rest of your thoughts that are not helpful to you? Why are we selectively seeking for these thoughts that we want to gain something out of? Like, especially with no-fap, you're selecting a process. You can throw all of your thoughts out. You don't have to selectively just pick, oh, okay, I don't want to watch porn. I don't want to masturbate.
Right. It's a general and specific subtraction.
Yes.
Right.
So you become really good at noticing. And if you become really good at noticing and throwing it out, of course you're going to gain superpowers. But because before you were just craving and wanting. So you're going to notice more. You're going to see more.
I don't think, see, it sounds like you think that I've got sex on my mind and I've got no-fap and all that. This was just me I was just fapping once a day, once in 2 weeks, once a week. Sometimes I'd be doing it every day. It's just 5 or 10 minutes at night before going.
Show us the calendar, Ryan. Wow, it got real deep real quick.
So
let's see the calendar.
Okay,
that's not it. But I mean,
so now I'll have to think about so what's happening is that I wasn't thinking about sex. I wasn't even craving sex. It was minimally affecting my life. But I just thought that it's getting in the way of me maybe having relationships, maybe opening my mind and the dopamine as a distraction mechanism.
Precisely.
So it's opening my mind to maybe what's really happening in my life and to see whether there's sadness that I'm covering up with this, loneliness that I'm covering up with this, being full of shit that I'm covering up with this, and just seeing if it really, yeah.
Well done, point on. That's exactly what I meant, yeah.
But beautiful. No to the superpowers. I mean, to the craving. I mean, to the craving about trying to get something. That's back to craving again, right? It's just exchanging one for another. Oh, I will give this up to get something else. But in both situations, your hand is grasping something. Your mind is clinging to something, right?
And that's what I talk about wholesome desire, is that I feel that wholesome desire is maybe being porn free or no fap or anything like that, and that unwholesome is being is with porn or fapping or things like that.
The question is, can you fap skillfully? Can you with wisdom?
That is the question of the hour.
So Rick, how about you share about fapping skillfully?
Carl said that. I was seconding. I was offering supports.
Alex.
Yeah.
You did the same meditation that I did with Twim. Did you?
Yeah.
What was your experience? Were you able to like drop that belief that this is like just all in your head and really believe that it was actually doing something in real life? Like.
Oh, are you talking about where like your neighbors might feel it down the street and stuff like that?
Yeah, or whoever you send it to.
so I have a good friend, Corvin, as well, and he went pretty far with this. He had like a teacher for like 3 years, intimately working with him on twin, and he'll say sometimes, he's like, the twin people think this, but you know, this is my experience, and I tend to trust his experience because it's just, I don't know. Even if it did radiate happiness to the neighbor, what is that really going to do for me right now in my experience? What matters is my relief. You know?
Yeah.
Do
Well,
good,
the way
do
it
good,
worked,
Dhammarato
the way it worked for me
here.
was like when I had this limiting belief that was like partially conscious, where it was like, this isn't really doing anything. It stopped me from feeling as good as if I believed it was. If you believed you could actually like energy blast someone to like feel amazing, like if you actually believed it, like I'm pretty sure you'd feel like whoa, I can just sit here and I can make this person feel amazing, like, and I can really make a difference in their life just sitting here meditating. Like if you actually take on that belief, like the instructions say to, like for me, it made me feel amazing. Like it was like loads of like.
So I
Well,
had
I don't.
tried this.
Wait, one sec, Ryan. I just want to respond to that. So I don't think it's actually what they're suggesting is to like take on a belief. They might have said believe, but how I've interpreted it or understood it is you're like wishing that loving kindness, that feeling that you first bring up for yourself, and then once you're in touch with it, you gently nudge it along by wishing loving kindness for your spiritual friend or your family or whatever.
But you're actually wishing well-being on them. You're wishing for their well-being.
Yeah, for the well-being. Yeah, and they say loving kindness. It's similar. I think it's the same thing. Well, it's just words.
Language.
Well, like it's that spirit of loving kindness or well-being or equanimity, whatever it is, joy, orgasm, whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter, as long as it feels good, as long as you bring up that good feeling and that starts riding a momentum. That's all that matters. It doesn't really matter what the content of it is as much as what's actually happening in your experience.
I've done TWIM. I've done TWIM with the work colleague. I've done retreat. I've done 2 retreats on TWIM.
Nice.
Or 2
Cool.
10-day retreats. And
yeah.
I felt really good on the retreats. And when I was doing the TWIM, I was in tears almost all day long because of the good feelings I was having. And I was thinking about a work friend the first time I was doing it. And but he was having a shit time. His house was in difficulties. He was just going through a rough patch at that time. So I don't know whether, and I wanted to tell him, you know what? I like you, so you're a good guy. So I thought I'd this thing. But I thought if he knew it happened at that time, he'd probably tell me, no, listen, just do it towards somebody else. So it was different from the experience that I was having. I mean, I was thinking, okay, man, and I believe I can send these feelings across like that, and that I thought his life would be better. But practically looking at it, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Well, there you go.
Lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yes, Your Honor. I was energy blasted. From loving kindness. No, it was well-being.
Yeah, he fucked up. He sent me the wrong energy.
This isn't what I got on my order.
Okay, so Robert, experiment time. So you send out whatever to each one of us throughout the week, and we'll report on it next week.
Yeah.
Or,
we'll do a poll like
better still, let's do it right now, and whoever gets blasted has to raise their hand.
Oh, okay. All
right, let's do it. Great.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, they totally
took class. This isn't science class. What's important here and what's in the air is, if you have some experience as you're doing this, then that is what's real.
Yeah.
Perception is reality.
What? Say again, right?
Perception is reality.
Perception is reality.
But the map is not the territory.
The
So
map
Dan,
is not the territory.
are you saying believe whatever craziness leads to like the best results in our experience? Because the best results for me was the magical belief.
I'm trying to listen to Robert. Sorry. Again, please, Robert.
Are you saying believe whatever leads to the best result, even if it is magical?
There's nothing magical about it. You're doing something in the mind which is leading to a result.
Super
Right?
mundane. Super mundane.
Super mundane.
Yeah, not magical.
The
Super mundane.
the definition of magic is the art of getting an effect in conformation with will. So any effect in conformation with what you want, and that can be anything.
Interesting.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, then that's like we're doing like magic on ourselves all the time because we're
All
like
the time, yeah.
cause and
So
effect.
then what I've realized is that is there's no concept of self-control because there's no concept of self-control because there's no self to control. Because if the thing that we think is behind us is just can move fluidly, we think around the environment. So then I thought the way this happens is maybe from a top-down process. So we think instead of trying to do the self-control thing, we think about controlling it from our thoughts. And so if you see the problems that we have in our lives, they're all related to our thoughts that we're having. And they're questions like, why am I so fat? Why am I so full of shit? Why am I thinking that Rick's such an amazing, handsome guy? So
I'm
it's all
thinking
these.
that all the time.
Yeah.
I'll take funny over handsome.
So I suppose what happens is that, so recently I read this theory is that instead of having affirmations, there's a different way to do these things is to ask why. So which is, why am I such a sexy motherfucker? And when you start saying that repeatedly to yourself, it comes true
Interesting.
even more powerfully than affirmations. Because affirmations you don't believe. Affirmations you don't believe, which is I'm sexy, I'm sexy, I'm sexy, you won't believe. But if you say, why am I so sexy, then it's
interesting.
That's awesome. It's like you subvert like your own self to like trick yourself to believe it.
Sounds
That's
like wholesome
really
thoughts
cool.
to me.
Keep sharing that.
Yeah.
I might try that. That's awesome.
How do I subvert myself? How do I subvert
Why
myself?
am I so satisfied?
Why am I so subvertive of myself? You get really grammatically complex.
Why am I so satisfied right now?
Why am I so satisfied right now?
Why is everything nice?
That's
so good.
Why am I so free of craving?
Why am I in the present moment?
Yes. Why am I free of craving? Why do I feel so good?
Yeah.
Why am I fucking all these bitches?
Are you holding a dog?
Oh, Dan's gonna get the doghouse for that one.
He has plushies being chucked at him from off camera.
This is one of my bitches.
Good save, good save, poor save actually, poor save.
Yeah, well saved.
Apparently there's a protest over there on Dan's side.
So now the thing is, Dan's got wholesome craving, which is how do I stay alive?
Or how do I piss off my wife?
No, I know exactly how to do that.
It's working.
That's right. You call her
sending the
plushies
message
bitches.
back.
That's an easy one. Yeah.
Right. Easy mode.
Divorce time.
Easy mode. Why am I so divorced?
You're a dick. That's an easy one.
Why am I such a dick? Nice.
Very good. Guys, that's time for me. Thanks for the jokes. This was delightful. Great to see you all again. I will be back this time next week. Rick, let's try and talk tomorrow, yeah?
Let's do it. I'm up for that.
Great.
All right. See ya.
Anyone.
Cheers,
It's been
guys.
great.
See you all.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Wonderful
Bye.
to see you
Bye.
again.
Bye.
Good to see you,
Bye.
Dan. Love you, bro.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Love you all. Bye bye.
Ciao.